headlamp assembly and wiring. I'm going to be assembling the headlight assembly from the 1943 Willys MB project, and I've got my parts all laid out here, and I'll show you what I've got. I've got the headlight bucket itself, and I stripped that down to bare metal completely, and before I primed it and painted it, I taped off the end here, as well as the inside here, and right there where the screw connects for the ground. I've got my actual mounting bracket here ready to go. Also took a Dremel tool and removed all the paint and primer from the inside of that socket on the inside of the bracket. I also took away the paint here where the bolt goes into the grill, as well as just a little bit on the back side where the actual nut goes on. You're looking for some good grounding here. I've got the headlight door all cleaned up and painted. Replacement bulb. All my hardware, that's original hardware, I cleaned all up on the wire wheel. Here I've got the A1362 headlight socket. That's from the premium Ron Fitzpatrick G parts wiring kit. I'm telling you, there's some great quality stuff there. It looks fantastic and very original. I'm installing that. For tools, I've got some dielectric grease, flathead screwdriver, some electric tape, and a 3/4 inch wrench. So the first thing I'm going to do is on the inside of the bucket here, where I didn't paint or I had to tape, I'm just going to give that a little scuffing with my 100 grit sandpaper. You want that really nice and clean and shiny. And I'll do the same thing on the inside here. And it's nice clean steel, but it doesn't hurt just to give it one last, get a little oxidation off there. And got that all nice and cleaned up. Looks good. I'm going to install a little dielectric grease onto that bare metal. Not a whole bunch, just a little bit. And I'm going to smear it on there with my finger. I'm going to do that for two reasons. Number one, it'll be nice to have a little lube in there and protect that bare metal from oxidation. I'll put a little bit here on the base of my bucket as well. Not globbing it, I'm just kind of smearing it on there. Take our bracket, I'm going to orient it this way, so here's the hinge part. Got our bucket. I'm going to drop that bolt right in the bottom like that. Bolt goes inside, and the square part of the shoulder of the bolt goes in that square notch that's in the bracket. Install the lock washer and install the nut. I'm not going to fully tighten that down because I will have to adjust that headlamp after this is all installed, but I will go ahead and give it a good snugging with the wrench, just so it stays in there while I'm working on it. We'll open up our headlight socket, wiring harness. This is one of the things I love about the RFJP wiring harness master kit. Each individual piece comes with its own schematic, which specifically tells you where that part is wired to, and they're very detailed, and it's awesome to have that for each individual thing. They also have a schematic, full schematic as well, but I love the fact that there is one of these in each individual package for each part. And before I install this, I'm going to come down here to where the ground and run it up against this wire loom that we've got, and I'm going to go about 1.5 inches from there, and I'm going to take some electric tape and I'm going to wrap that around there about 5 times. That's going to keep the wiring harness from pulling out of the bucket. Just a little trick. I've seen some of these with actual wire clips on them. I've also seen a ton of them done with this tape method. You're just trying to get it so it doesn't pull out of the back of the bucket. You see, that makes it a little bit thicker there. I'm going to take the ends here, the connector ends, slide them through the hole in the back of the headlight bucket. Now you may have to do one at a time. They pretty snug fit there, so we'll go one at a time through the hole. Just feed that wire loom through, as you see there. And that tape is going to stop that from coming out any further. Next step, this is called a retainer. And I've got it all cleaned up on the wire wheel, but still, I'm going to go ahead with my 100 grit sandpaper and just clean the contact points just a little bit better, make them shiny as I can get them. Shiny, bright, and tight. That's how we like to do the electrical connections. You see there, I've just got a little scuffed up. And I'm going to hit this point as well. And reach inside here, scuff the top of the bolt a little bit, and the contact point. Again, a little dielectric grease. You don't have to use a ton, just a little dab. Here's the tricky part, if you've got big fingers that like to get in the way. The retainer is going to be oriented like this into the bucket. I'm going to put a little dab here, dielectric grease. I love the dielectric grease, I know. A little bit on my screw. And I've got the original lock washer here. These small parts are fun to handle. If you notice how this connector is at the end, it's kind of got a flat spot here that wants to go. It wants to go right there because that would just be awkward. We'll place the screw in the lock washer in here, through here. Here comes the fun part. This is the part I like the best. I'm going to place the screw inside the bucket here. Just got it started. Take the screwdriver. Now here's the important part. You want that retainer to touch right on top of dead center of that bolt that we installed the bucket with. And I'll show this to you. Just like that. See how it's centered on top of the bolt there. We take our bulb, give these contacts a little bit of the dielectric grease. And the plug orients only one way, as you see here. So we'll just plug the headlamp in, as such. Now when this is oriented in the Jeep, that's going to be on top of your grill. There's a little notch here on the bulb, and there's a notch here in the headlight bucket. You want to line those up like such. And then we take the door and work the door into the groove on the side of the headlight bucket. That's why they don't put the screw in before. We'll kind of orient that at 90 degrees. My bulb's in there tight, and right down there at the bottom is a perfect little marking in the bulb to line that up on. A lot of times bulbs will have a top actually embossed onto them. You want to have that oriented top where it should be because the filaments inside are a low and high beam. You wouldn't want those flip-flop upside down. It probably would be pretty hard to do it with that notch that we had in there, but I just thought I would point that out to you. There is a top and a bottom to the light bulbs. On the door, one side is just a smooth bore, and on the other side of the bracket there is threads for your screw. We'll tighten that up. Nice and tight there. And that's basically the assembly. And now we've got the wire harness all in there. And I can do the one with the long wiring the same way. And we can install these on the grill.